Hello, everybody. What is up, game changers? Welcome to the end game. My name is Juniper Blue Mystique. I am the one who brought about the ascension. That is by all means very real. I am an ascension master, master healer, and divine guide, or what spirit calls me, the one. It's a lot to digest who I am, but it's also very, very awesome sauce. So everything is uploaded on this channel for you guys to see. So I encourage you to like and subscribe and stick around and watch all of the workshops, because that is your key through the ascension, my friends. I hold the keys. I have opened and activated every gate and the portals of the ascension that get you through to the gates of heaven. The 13th gate. It is all very biblical. It is all very awesome. And that is who I am. It started with clearing Mount Shasta, raising Atlantis, activating all the pyramids, returning the root chakra to where it belonged, returning the triangle of eye to where it belonged. During activating all of the pyramids, I moved the sun and the moon to where they belonged, returned all of the light codes, the Christ light. Resurrection of Christ happened to and through me on this channel, actually, live. I returned Jesus and Mary Magdalene and undid the false Holy Grail. And I cleared the Nile, dried it blood red, and we cleared it up and turned it dry. And so many things. Okay, this is all very biblical. Now, I want to share something with you guys, okay? Because the question is right now is, can we get through these things without fear? Okay. Can you remain open-hearted and not have fear? Because, my friends, it is what they are calling the end days, right? What spirit calls the end of ways. And every week I'm trying to give you guys options to help you through these, but it's up to you guys to use them, right? And so this week, the energies were all about balance and needing to be sure that you are balanced and open to receive these energies and things. And so I had done a guided healing exercise that hopefully you guys use. And so if you are using them, you should be feeling quite all right? Being able to push through these energies, these dense energies, all of these retrograde features. Dun, dun, dun. Because here's the deal, my friends, is that they're not going to tell you anything, okay? If you haven't noticed, we've had some crazy apocalyptic fires. Everybody is calling them apocalyptic. Now, if you're watching my workshops, I'm going to show you where those are. For those who may not know, I talk a lot about these things. I've already mentioned fires. I mentioned Hawaii a lot when I was activating the underwater pyramid and doing things to Kilimanjaro. See, let's see this. In my Ascension playlist, you will find everything. But here's clearing the Nile. Okay. You guys, it's something to be taken seriously, right? You don't have to believe me, but who I am is very real. And if you just watch the videos, the proof is there. In these ones, I talk a lot about fires. So there's fires there. I talked a lot about Hawaii, actually, in this one. And causing fires and things like that, because I activate pyramids, and those are very much so what changes this planet. Ecuador also is a very important pyramid activation, but you see, people aren't taking it seriously, unfortunately. It sucks because, it's not me that's going to hurt, right? Because knowledge is power, my friends. Having the knowledge is power. And the thing is you don't have to believe anything. If you guys are actually watching it, the proof is there, okay? And so when I activated Colombia, Congo, Mount Kilimanjaro, rebuilt the crystal grid, I talked a lot about fires. When I undid the collective shadow, I talked about fires. I talk about twin flames a lot and why they matter so much on this journey. But the thing is I mention a lot about it. Okay, I mentioned the volcanoes, earthquakes. When I did the latest one, let's see, which one was that? When I did Mount Shasta part 2, and I loaded it all for you all to see. I'm like, where is it? There it is. Mount Sheet 24 views. This is what I mean. Nobody's taking it seriously. This is an actual workshop that caused me a lot of pain. My DM was supposed to show up for, and he didn't. And that's probably why people aren't taking it seriously. I don't know. But honestly, if you guys had, like, truly, if somebody came to me and said, hey, look at these things, I did all these things to change it, I'd pay attention. at least I would do my investigations first, because if you truly watch the things, they're me really doing them. Okay. And Clearing Mount Shasta Part 2, I talk about these things. There's a lot here. Okay. So the proof is there for what I've done. You can't move mountains, move the sun and the moon, activate pyramids, change the poles, and not have apocalyptic features. All right. Now, all of the workshops that I did also went along with the Bible. Okay. They really did. I encourage people to watch these things because, you know, if I hold the keys to the ascension, meaning every bit of knowledge that I give you is necessary. It's, you know, it's important. It really, truly is important. So I hope you guys can pick it up because, again, you know, I want to make sure that everybody ascends. It is a rite of passage. You do have to heal yourself, clear your karma, all of those kinds of things. Okay. But it's relevant. Okay. So I want to show you guys some things. So the fires in Hawaii are very biblical. Israel, again, like I have said, that there's things happening in Israel. There should have been something saved to my watch later. Let's see. So I wanted to show you guys this guy. I don't know this guy. This guy said something very important. And I want you guys to hear it. So I'm going to change my volume. Hang on. Hang on just a second. Don't freak out. Don't leave me. Okay. In my audio. Okay, there you guys should be able to hear me. So you should be able to hear this video now. Yes, you should be testing. Okay. It should be working. I hope. I will pay attention to it. But I want you guys to watch this guy, okay?
So like a lot of you, I'm witnessing the world get weirder and weirder. Sometimes I see what's happening and I say to myself, what the? Especially considering we're now living in a world where children are allowed to change genders, causing irreversible harm to their bodies. Looting and robbing a store is apparently no longer a crime. And of course, who can forget about the furries, a term I learned yesterday, which are people pretending to be animals.
Furry is someone who has created an anthropomorphized animal, they call it.
Now, what if I told you that all these things that seem crazy and unpredictable are all just according to a plan written 2,500 years ago, and that all these events happening around the world are all happening exactly the way it's supposed to happen? Because I don't know about you guys, but a lot of what I'm currently seeing right now are what the Bible describes as signs of the end time. So in this video, I'll be covering 3 major things that I'm seeing that may indicate that we're currently living in the end times. Now, if you're feeling generous and you resonate with this content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. Now, without further ado, the first out of the 3 big indicators that we are currently living in the end times would be the current political state of Israel and its potential future involving its neighbors. And well, this is where we go to Ezekiel 38 and 39. If you look at Ezekiel 38, God foretold that in the end times there would be a major military attack against Israel once Israel would be restored. And God indicated that the military attack would be composed of the armies of 5 nations as they were known back in Ezekiel's day. And those nations are named by God in Ezekiel 38 verse 5 and 6, the first being Persia, which is modern day Iran. Ethiopia, which, by the way, the nation and the land known as Ethiopia in Ezekiel's time, is known today as the Sudan. And the third nation being Libya, which is still Libya today. And the fourth nation is named in verse 6 as Gomer, which in Ezekiel's day, Gomer was a tribal group of people who are located in the central part of what you and I know today as the nation of Turkey. Now, what do all these 4 nations we've discussed up until this point have in common? Well, they're all deep Islamic nations who are currently wanting the demise of Israel. But of course, there's a 5th nation. In fact, in Ezekiel 38:2, God said to Ezekiel, Son of man, set your face against Gog, the land of Magog. Now, the land of Magog in Ezekiel's day was located in between the Black and Caspian Seas in the southern part of what we have known historically as Russia or the Soviet Union. So, of course, the question is, what's Russia's role here? Well, according to what was said to the prophet Ezekiel, Russia will not only be the leader that may rally the other Muslim nations against Israel, but they may actually be the country God will punish and torment to showcase his glory. Now, how will all this unfold? Well, here are my thoughts according to what I read in scripture. First and foremost, it's prophesied that at one point Israel will be prosperous, peaceful, and unified, and will actually embrace Jesus as the Christ, as the Messiah, and Jesus, in turn, will restore Israel. In fact, if we look at Ezekiel 38:25 and 26, it reads, Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will now restore the fortunes of Jacob and will have compassion on all the people of Israel, and I will be zealous for my holy name. They will forget their shame and all the unfaithfulness they showed towards me when they lived in the safety in their land with no one to make them afraid. And of course, Jesus, the sovereign Lord, walks us through exactly how that's going to happen. As it says in Ezekiel 38:27 through 29, when I have brought them back from the nations and I've gathered them from the countries of their enemies, I will be proved holy through them in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord their God, for though I sent them into exile among the nations, I will gather them to their own land, not leaving any behind.
Now, this is interesting because of the work that I did. If you're paying attention to the work that I did, I have one of the portals was Garden of Eden. You have to get DNA activations through there. It is in Israel, Jerusalem, okay, and it is rising. And I've said that 100 times over. That is Garden of Eden is rising. And it is biblical, and that is basically what is causing this unrest. Jesus is very relevant in that time frame. When I undid the collective and individual shadow, that's when the Euphrates River started drying up. Mount Shasta part 2, it was very important for you guys to watch, actually, because in there I kind of cracked California. It's separated from the Earth's mapping system, basically. You guys, these are big deals. It's so biblical. It's so awesome to see it. It's so cool. And the fact is that everybody can see it across the board that's in tune, that's paying attention. Now, here's the thing is they're not going to tell you about these things. Okay. You can watch his whole video if you would like to. But Hawaii, the fire there, there's still thousands of people unaccounted for. It did kill quite a few people. They did not send out an alarm. So the people that were there said they had no warning. No warning at all. And that's the way this is going to play out, you guys. That's why they say when you do the workshops and things, that those that do them with me, those that do all the healings, they're kind of separated from the collective soul. Okay. These things are all biblical. The apocalypse, it's about waking up, mass awakening, but also mass redemption for the earth. Fires have been mentioned several times over. And that is part of one of the prophecies as well. I don't know what else that guy said. I did not watch his whole video. You can absolutely do so. Now, a lot of crazy things are happening, right? Like the Joshua trees have burned. There's going to be big shifts. Now, can you stay calm in these big shifts? Can you stay calm in these apocalyptic fires and mass redemption waves? Okay. And even De La Roca said the event, Maui fires, Hawaii fires, and the shift in consciousness. Okay. If you truly are paying attention to the work that I did, you guys, I talk about these things. I talk about these things occurring, fires occurring, waterways moving and shifting. I don't just talk about them, I cause them. And they're in the workshops, though. People actually have to watch them. But people still have a really hard time watching it. They have a really hard time not going into judgment when they do these things. And I'm hoping that eventually they can, right? That's what I'm trying to do now, is to help everybody rise into it, to help everybody move the energy. It's because the key for you is to be able to feel into your heart space. because that's when you're going to know when to move and when to do things. Is being able to be healed and open. Okay. This is why I said there's a lot of upheaval in Israel. The third temple is finally being built. They're calling it terrifying. It's not terrifying. It is prophesized. Final rapture sign unveiled in Israel. Okay. These are all biblical, and I've talked about them happening. Okay. There's something really cool happening on the East Coast that I kind of wanted to tune into, because these are things the news is not talking about. And if we get afraid, we're going to miss something important. We can freeze in fear and be in trouble.
There's some major things at play here that's going on, and I'm seeing a number of the pieces, but I need y'all guys' help. Meaning that I need you to go in the comments and tell me what you know and what you're seeing, okay? All right, we got a number of things to go through, okay? Things I'm seeing, because I'm paying close attention to the things that are going on around me and around the world, and even particularly the area, okay? This area where I'm at. I am in South Carolina on the coast, not too far from basically Myrtle Beach, okay? Now, let's look at this this map here. Okay, you see, this is the earthquake map, right? Well, are these earthquakes? No, they're not. Okay. You see, it says it's not an earthquake. It says reported shaking. Hey, let's go over here and let's look at an earthquake. You see that it says M.30. 9 hours ago. That is an earthquake. It's a verified earthquake. It has an epicenter, you see. These over here, these don't have epicenters. They're not earthquakes. Not an earthquake is something that has an epicenter and it radiates out from there. The further out it goes, the less shaking there is. Something is going on here that is shaking the entire eastern United States, all the way from Florida.
I will also tell you he's not the only one actually tuning into this. I saw a few videos talking about this. See, there's a few people talking about the East Coast right now, South and North Carolina, and all the shaking that they're feeling and all these weird things happening. The thing is if you guys actually watch my workshops, you're going to be more empowered. You're going to know more about what's happening, but you have to be open to hearing what I say. Because in them, I tell you, I do the things, and Spirit has mentioned that. The pyramid activations, all of these things. I mentioned Hawaii, I don't know how many times in the last few pyramid activations that I did, especially the ones underwater. Now, when I was doing those underwater, all of the ocean temperatures have also now changed. And you can actually put it together when you watch the workshops that I do, you guys, because there are underwater volcanoes that they are now discovering. And they go right along with what I was doing under the water. And then I kept talking about California or Hawaii. And I was like, I need to move it. We don't want to destroy all of Hawaii. And I had talked about this. I also said Krakatoa, and it erupted 6 days later. So that's my point here, is like, there's so many cool things that I have done. They're all very biblical. And if you have the tools in your belt, then you're going to know what's coming, because they're not going to tell you. Just like what happened in Hawaii, right? The Lanai or whatever, that whole entire area is gone. And they didn't get any warnings, you guys. This is my biggest point, is they're not going to give you the warnings. Why are they not going to give you the warnings? Because the whole entire media system was part of the matrix that is falling. It's part of what I undid when I did the false concept of the moon, which if you watch Mount Shasta part 1 and 2 and then the moon one, you're going to know that, right? You would know that they're not going to be able to tune into the realities and to notify us of truth. It's all about pushing their fear and their normal things that they would push. Why wouldn't they tell us the truth about earthquakes and fires and things? Well, first of all, they're biblical. So these things are going to pop up out of nowhere. And they're things that people cannot bypass, okay, because they are biblical. They're what I brought about. And you guys, the most important part is to be able to do these without fear. Like with this Hawaii thing and with the Joshua trees burning up. Can we deal with this without fear? The only way you're in fear is if you're not aware of what's going on. We're not healed enough. We're not awake enough. That will spark fear. Okay. That's why I'm like, people, you got to watch these workshops. Really, truly watch the work that I do, because it's going to help you wake up. It's going to help you see the truth and understand what's happening and what's coming. Who I am is very real. These things are very biblical. They're very real. Okay. But it's either, do you have power or do you have fear and unknown? The choice is yours.
There's a bunch of people in Florida reporting it. I'll show you on this map where they're reporting it.
Oh yeah, in Florida, like, oh my gosh, right?
And I'm going to show you in the comments on one of my videos where they're reporting it, as well as all the way up the coast and all the way out into out here in Texas. Let's see if this is one of them. Okay, there you go. Reported shaking. Okay, let's click this other one here. If I can. Let's click this one. Okay, now that's a earthquake there, right? That one is not. That is a reported shaking. Let's go over here. Reported shaking. Let's go right here. Reported shaking. Let's go up north. Reported shaking. Not an earthquake. Reported shaking. And when you look into the comments on these things, people are saying sometimes there are booms and things like that. Let's click on this and let's click on this. Let's take a look and see if this will show us. I don't know why they don't make it a little easier to find, but let's go. Oops. What happened? Hang on just a second, guys. My map disappeared. Okay, here we go, got it back. Okay, let's go. Oh, I see what I'm doing. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Pull it back up. Okay. Let's go down. Okay. See, it says reported quake or seismic like activity, but there's no actual epicenter. There's no quake. Okay. It says 5 users felt it. Okay. Let's click on more information. And let's go down. Let's see if it shows us the users that reported it. Let's see. I think it's on down maybe. And they don't make it. Here you go. Users reporting this quake, right? So this one says, this was in Hudson, New York. It says building shook, couch shifted. This one also in Hudson, New York said building shook, couch shifted. Okay, that's probably the same person.
You guys, they're not talking about this kind of stuff. They're not gonna talk about this kind of stuff. You know, the thing in Hawaii, it's like the only way you're gonna know these things are coming is if you're aware and tuned into your heart space. Okay. Because they are divinely guided. They are a part of the end of ways. And so the earth has to redeem herself. And I've talked about that. But and the thing is if people were paying attention to all of the pyramid activations and the things that I say in them and the things that I do, none of this would be shocking. It would be like, oh yeah, she said that. Oh, look, there's another thing she said was coming. So it is about power, right? How can we own our power? How can we own our sovereignty in these times? How can we not allow fear to step in while things are falling apart? Because, you know, I had said too, going into next year, there's going to be a big wave of clearing out of the system of people out of the collective soul. Okay. So it's really important to be mindful of that. Let's see what else he has to say.
This next person in Brooklyn said humming vibrations. And then there was another report here. So I don't know.
Like, not only is it aliens, although I said that was going to happen too. So if you go back to like Mount Shasta and my first pyramid activations, I said that the work I was doing was like a beacon. It's like calling them all in. they like can see it. It was like, pew, pew, look at us. Something's happening here. Not only that, but when I took us into 7D, into the Pleiades galaxy, if you guys look on my Ascension playlist, all of those are here, right? I took us into 7D, Pleiades galaxy, and I talk about that again. They actually said that they were going to be here. I have said several times that they were going to start making contact with people, which in Peru, I guess they have been. Is there some of the aliens that are probably not of God? Possibly, right? Because they've been living amongst you as it is. Look at this. See, taking us into 7D, only 49 views, you guys. It's like so many people don't believe because they're not watching. All you have to do is watch these things and actually watch them, you know, actually absorb them, watch the work that I do. And each one comes in 2 sections too. So the moon, I did it in more than one section. This was phase 1 complete. All right. When I did Mount Shasta part 2, I moved the moon some more. The Nile, it all goes in a row and it's all biblical, but there's 2 parts to each one. Mount Shasta 1 and 2. 7D, I had to activate dormant chakra systems. Then I took us into the new galaxy. And in that one, they mentioned aliens as well. And here they are. Here we are. That's what I mean is there's proof there for what I did. It's just people got to watch it. But I feel like everybody wants to judge and everybody wants to go in fear. And it's like, let's not do that. Let's keep our heart open because, you know what I mean? It's like people may say it's the return of Christ, but when it's right there in front of their faces, can they even see it?
Exactly what is going on here with this whole situation. But I have more information. All of these reports, like if we go down here to Florida, you see all these blue areas, and up here, like this little blue thing right here, if you click on it, it's someone that was reporting this event. And if we go down here to Florida, see here, they don't show up like they should. It's hard to kind of see them, but if you click around, oh, there they go right there now. See, this is in Florida. The windows began to rattle. I took a look outside to see what was causing it and heard an audible hum. No real shaking, just the window rattling. Okay. Now let's click on another one. Okay, it just says weak shaking. Let's click on another one. I heard a rumble and the blinds on my French doors started vibrating enough to make noise. Okay, right? Let's go on this one over here. I think there's one right in here. It's kind of hard to see these different ones. Okay, windows and doors rattling, right? So you can see there's more reports. I think this is one right here. Suddenly, windows began to rattle and I could hear a low rumbling. It lasted long enough for me to mute the TV, listen for a moment, then get up and open the front door. Rumbling continued few seconds more, then faded. Right? There's another one. I was in my room, I heard a noise and thought it was upstairs, I guess. This my glass and my whole room starts shaking and everything in my room making a rattling noise. Okay? So you see what I'm seeing here? Windows rattling for approximately 1 minute. Then again, a few minutes later for approximately 10 seconds. Here's another one right here on the coast, I think. Upstairs shook right next to beach. Okay? And another one. And there it's happening all the way up the East Coast and inland, as you can see, a long ways, because each one of these bubbles produces these reports, and that you can read, just like we were doing in Florida. I have a friend that he's up here in the Appalachians, okay, the mountains, and he lives on top of a mountain up there, and he said the whole mountain is rocking.
You guys, he's not the only one that is tuned into this. Okay, there's been quite a few people. Okay. All over the East Coast, North Carolina, South Carolina. They're tuning into something going on. And the thing is they're not reporting about it. Just like what the Earth Master talks about a lot of times, apparently he gets threats because he talks about stuff and they're like, don't report that. Why on earth would they not want you guys to know? Because first of all, they think you're idiots. They don't think you're powerful. They think you're weak. And if they can keep you in fear, then they have their power. Okay. So that's their main focus, is how can I keep people in fear and out of the loop? Just like with aliens. You think aliens are just now coming here? They've always been here. As we move forward into 5 and 7D reality, we will coexist. Okay, so if you think it's not going to be common space to see aliens, it probably will, for those that get to stay, right? Because again, it's either, you know, the people that have a pure heart and can see God are the ones that get to stay. So, you know, we will begin to coexist. We don't have a choice with that. I'm curious to see what else he has to say. Let's listen a little bit
He
more.
told me without even knowing that I was talking about this. He told me the whole mountain is rocking. Now, we have that going on. Now, let's take a look at a few other things. Of course, this is the craton, the North American craton, and the different plates and stuff. And I was just looking at them to try to see if there was anything matched up, kind of, okay? And because maybe there's something going on with that there. Now, let me tell you some other things that I've noticed, okay, very recently. One, I've been telling you that I've been seeing 9/11, okay, the number 9/11 showing up a lot.
Isn't that cool? See, he's awakening. He's seeing things. He's noticing this isn't right. He's seeing the synchronicities of spirit saying, hey, pay attention. And he's seeing it. So it'll happen even more for him. This is amazing. He's having an awakening.
Lately, okay? And other people were saying, if you go into comments on my videos, a lot of other people are saying they're seeing that same number. They're looking at their clock and it's 9/11, and it's happened so much you start to notice, right? And also, just to clarify, I have felt the shaking here in the hotel where I'm at. I have felt the building rocking. It actually made me stumble. It shook so much. It's not like a violent shaking, it's a wobbling, like make you stagger like a drunkard, right? Now, what am I looking at here? This is actually an older video. It's may have something to do with what I'm talking about or not. But I was at the beach, okay? And there's several things I've got to tell you about being at the beach over the other day. One is that I've told you that the ocean is now blue instead of murky green.
Yeah, so if you guys actually pay attention to the work I did, you'll see why that happened. I was in the water. Repairing the crystalline grid, and I was doing something with volcanoes under the water. I even specifically mentioned Hawaii in it. I specifically mentioned Krakatau, the Kraken also. Like, I kept mentioning a lot of things. And then the orcas started like attacking boats after that, and all of these changes started happening in the water. And then I showed you guys that they proved that there's underwater volcanoes they didn't even know existed that are leaking right now. They're spewing like gases or heat and all this kind of stuff. And then for some reason, they're not putting it together for you guys. And I don't know why they're not. But that is absolutely what's causing these ocean waves to change the watercolor. If you watch the workshops that I do, every single one of them, the gods come in and do things with me as well. We move water. I have literally split water. I have talked about how it's going to move from one lake to another. You know, when I activated the Pleiades galaxy stuff, there were 5 new poles. I've talked about the weather, but if you guys were actually doing the work with me, you would see these things, because people do the work with me. It's felt, it's seen, it's processed through them and to them, and not only just me. Right. And so you guys, these things are so big and so important. But the thing is if these things are happening and you're not healed enough It's going to be hard to see clearly. If you don't know what's really truly happening, you're not going to be able to make the right decisions for you in your heart space. And so that's the message I'm trying to put out. You know, everybody's pushing ups, the end days, these are apocalypse, but what do we do with it? Right. And as I talked about in the beginning of this week, it's about balance, and it's about choosing what it is we focus into. We need to use these as to call our power back. Each time the earth shifts into her power, because that's what these fires, all these things represent, the change of the water. She's going back to the way she's meant to be, the way she was before they commandeered it from God. Okay, this is the return of Christ. That's what the apocalypse is. And when I did the last one, they had specifically said that I brought them home. It's because of what I did that they're able to roam this planet again. And they've talked about this, the giants, I talked about them finding new biblical things. They're finding those. Everything I've said is happening. And I just want you guys to have your power, because not hearing me means you're not hearing God, right? And so are you seeing fear? What is it that we're tuning into? And let's fix it.
The water is turned a bluish color. Means that the sediment is settling to the bottom and the water's clearing up. Now that could be what they're saying about, like, here, let me come back over here. And if I go Gulf Stream, okay, and then click on news, you'll see a lot of reports about talking about the Gulf Stream, okay? And there were numerous reports out talking about the Gulf Stream shutting down, okay? Like this one here, New York Post. Be very worried, Gulf Stream collapse could spark global chaos by 2025, okay? And no,
Be very worried.
Believe
You see that? Be very worried. Gulf Stream collapse could spark global chaos by 2025. Let's be very worried. That's what I mean. It's like, let's push fear instead of power. Like, hey, yeah, this is what we did to the earth. Look, this is what's happening. It's being taken back. Because you guys, they're very aware. And I talk about that in my workshops too, is they're aware of what's happened. They are very aware. There was one thing where Obama came on and said, our scripture has been tampered with. Yeah, that's what I did. If you're watching the workshops that I did, I undid their false holy grail. That's what that was, you guys. It was a contract that they took. They wrote it in Jesus's blood. It's pretty sick when you put it all together, what they did. Because that's what happened. That's what has come through me. Jesus was murdered. He never died on a cross. The cross is the ankh. And because they took your power and they changed the masculine and feminine, they changed the cross. And then they would shove it in your face like, ha ha, bitches, you're too dumb to realize what I did. Praise this. Okay, that's what they did. They took Mount Shasta, is a dark portal. They took the portal of Fiji, the portal of the gods. They took the all-seeing eye and manipulated it. And then they showed you on the dollar bill what they were doing. And now they're like, be very worried, be very afraid. Screw you. Give me my power back. Let me feel my heart space so I can listen to the earth and allow her to tell me where to go. You want to know what's crazy? So I wanted to move to North Carolina and I've been blocked. I'm in Colorado, probably one of the safest places to be. However, like everybody's like Yosemite, right? So I even looked it up. If Yosemite were to explode, it can fly, was like 1,000 miles or something like that. We're in the danger zone, and it would take us like 7 hours to drive out of the danger zone. So I'm like, well, if that's the case, then I don't know if we will be able to get out. But you have to trust that it's divinely guided. So those who are meant to stay here will know what to do. We'll feel in our heart space what to go. If we become afraid and we become frozen, because that's what fear does, it activates your fight or flight. And then we can't always hear clearly, right? Like when we're in crisis, we can't see clearly. We can't hear clearly when we're afraid. And all they're saying is, be very worried. New York Post. Like, screw you, my dudes. I'm going to be powerful. I'm going to be healing. God says this. God says that. I am safe. I am saved.
The things that they say, yet there's definitely something going on here, okay, with all this. But anyways, I was at the beach, the water is changed, and I was born here in the same location in 1969. I spent a lot of time at the beach. I know what the water looks like here. It's not looking like that. Not only is it not looking like that, it's not acting the way it's supposed to. You see, the water, the other day, I seen it 2 days in a row, where our water is never completely calm. Okay. Here.
Yeah. And by the way, the moon is not acting the way it should have been either. And if you guys watch the workshops, what I did with the moon, it's never acted right since then. Everybody that would watch me and would actually be like, it's not in the right place now. And it would like trip them out. Like these are being noticed, but it does line up with my workshops, guys. That's why it's like, I wish more people would not judge and just watch them, because it's your power. It's there to help you understand and to heal and to be free and to be safe, because it's only the end of ways. It's not the end of days for all. And that's what I want to reiterate, right? But when they're pushing everybody be afraid, they're not even telling you what's really going on. Man, right? What a disconnect.
For whatever reason, there's always waves and there's always chop in the water. But you know, it ain't no big deal. I just noticed that the water was extremely calm for 2 days that where I was at. I could see the water, and the water was very calm. But the waves themselves, the waves that are there, have changed, and they're doing something different. And it's kind of hard to explain. We're going to come back to this in just a moment.
Now, actually, science does a lot of testing on water and waves and what they do in like earthquakes and things like that. So this is interesting.
Okay, let's see, where's it at? Oh yeah, right here. The waves are eating away at the beach. Now, this is not pictures of my beach in South Carolina. I don't even know where this is at. It's just similar to what's happening. And normally here, the waves, they run up the beach, and it's a nice smooth process. They run up all the way up the beach and they back off. Now they're just chopping in one spot over and over and over, which is very strange, to me anyways. And I can't ignore these things. This is not a time in our life for me, because this is my job to be watching these things and things that are going on and bring it to y'all guys, and also ask y'all guys for help so that I can know more and see more and get it out to more people, right? Now, also, when I was at the beach night before last, I went down to the beach and I noticed the chopping thing going on there, and I noticed the water looked different. It was bluer and all these things, right? But then what I also noticed, when I went in, I was riding with somebody in a car, and when I went in, there was no water on the roads. There was no nothing, right? When I went in. An hour later, I come out, and the roads have a foot of water in them. And that never happens really, except for like what you call king tides, or a hurricane coming in, that kind of thing.
Also, I have to reiterate that in here, let's look this up, because there's something else I want to show you about that, since he's talking about that, you guys. Recently, I think it was in Thailand, there is a fish that came up. Now in Thailand, hang on, let's see if it can come up. Thailand fish that tells of an earthquake. There was a unique fish. I was hoping to find the story. There it is. Rare deep sea fish spotted. And then recently there was another one that actually washed up on the shore recently in Thailand. Okay. Oh, that's Taiwan. So this has actually happened a couple times. Let's check this out. This is
It's
important
about to
too.
happen. Divers spotted the giant creature in shallow waters off the coast of Taiwan. In Japan, the fish is known as a messenger from the sea god's palace, and according to legend, its appearance can signal an imminent earthquake or tsunami, but scientists don't agree. This is a rare sighting of
Sorry. So we don't want to hear that. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It's like a rare sighting of a fish in Taiwan. Now in Thailand, I activated a pyramid there too. But you guys, the sea is smart. Water is an element, just like fire. Okay, it is governed by God. It truly is. In the work that I do, it comes up a lot. Water, fire, wind, and tornadoes. Okay. I shift the earth. I do things where it shakes the ground, and then these earthquakes happen. It's all there. It really, truly is. That's the crazy part. It's really cool. It's hard to fathom and understand. I get that. Trust me, it was hard for me to understand what I was doing at first as well. But when you think about water and you think about how powerful of an element it truly is, it's already telling you guys something. The sea life has already been telling you guys something. Now, they're not going to tell you guys, just like what happened in Hawaii. Okay. Lots of people who are there's actually lots of videos on YouTube at this time talking about the end times. Okay. Lots of people who focus on the Bible, to spiritual people, to regular people, all the way to Rob Deerdeck, that's one of my favorite shows, is Ridiculousness. But like most people can tell there's something here happening that's not normal. Everything seems to be falling apart. There's all kinds of weird weather patterns happening, flooding and fires and earthquakes and, just strange things. The water is like what? So hot in Florida right now. The water, it brings me back to the water and fire. If you watch the workshops that I do when I activate pyramids, when I clear things, when I do things, a lot of times it's in the water. In Fiji, the pyramid is under the water. That's where I did it. I activated the pyramid in Fiji and was under the water. And that is where I returned the triangle of the eye. Lake Titicaca is in water. That's where the hub of Atlantis is, where I apparently drowned. I know because I had to watch myself die there and clear a contract before I rose Atlantis. And I built a pyramid there, you guys. I actually built a pyramid there that they said eventually will be found. It's a new pyramid. And it has to do with the Earth's sacral chakra. And my pyramid is actually the chakra. That's what they said. That's in one of my videos as well. Like there's so many cool things. And then if you're paying attention, Lake Titicaca is also drying up. Okay. All of these things are biblical. It's so cool. You guys, the water is telling you something. Okay. Let's listen.
But in this case, the roads were flooded like there was a hurricane that had hit. And there was a foot of water on the roads all over, not just one spot. The whole
So by the way, too, the orca started attacking boats quite frequently after I did Kilimanjaro.
whole area down there was all flooded. And so, yeah, something it's like I was noticing on the beach when the red waves are running up and up to the sand and chopping.
Let me correct that. I didn't just do Kilimanjaro. I just say Kilimanjaro. That's one of the places we went, but that whole workshop was like Congo, Colombia, Kenya, Kilimanjaro, but it was also underwater. And that's where I was saying the Krakatau, which erupted 6 days after that. And then I was saying that I was doing an underwater pyramid, and I had mentioned I didn't want all of Hawaii to be lost. I actually mentioned that in there. I kept saying Hawaii, something's up with Hawaii. I said I need to move it. I don't want to lose all of Hawaii. And then to see this fire, and everybody's like, yep, apocalyptic. Yeah, I mean, it's there. I'm like, dang, people need to be watching these workshops. I'm telling you, because it's power. What would knowledge do? If you were able to actually watch how the work was done and brought forth and what's been happening, that's power for you, right? Knowledge is power, my friends, not this run in fear, be afraid, wait till the last minute. Pay attention to your heart, look for the proof, look for what God's telling you, and listen. So when God says move, move, whatever that means for you, right? Like whatever is in your heart, whatever God is saying, it's like, let's listen, and let's listen now, because it is the end of day, the end of ways. That's what it's about. It's like, we have to do things differently. We got to be able to hear God. That's really what it's about. And then when people like refuse to listen to my videos, I'm like, oh no. Like, okay, maybe I wasn't in love enough, right? Like, let's push love, because we've got to be able to hear this. We've got to be able to see it. They aren't going to tell you. They will tell you, oh, be afraid. But then what? Right? They're not giving you solutions. They're not telling you what's really happening and what's really real and why. And it's not climate issues, my friends. This is God's doing. Okay.
That water is coming up through the ground, is being forced up through the sand in other parts on the beach. And then also it's being forced up in people's yards. People were outside standing in the water looking around, wondering why their yard is flooded so bad. You know, it's not normal. There were a lot of people standing out in the water when we left, and it was dark. You know, so people ain't hanging out in the water outside when it's flooded in the dark for no reason. They know that something is up, something is different. They don't know everything that we're talking about, but they know that, right? And there's something that's different there. And I want y'all guys to take note of these things, keep them in your mind, and wherever you're at, try to confirm these things happening where you're at or anything else. It's time to pay close attention to your surroundings and stop yourself and think about the little things that are happening. So
this is exactly what I said in my video yesterday on Facebook. I did a live, and it came through in the message that it's very, very important right now to pay very attention to what is happening. That's what I'm saying. And people are literally not watching God. like you've got to watch these workshops, you guys, because I did the work. It lines up. It is what has caused all of these things to happen. And if you're watching the workshops, you can see that. Watch them in a row, watch them diligently, pay attention to what is said in them, because I do the work in there. And then now we're actually seeing these things play out in the environment, the water, the the fires. I talk about fires a lot. Fires really started coming up when I started undoing the shadow. That was when I kept saying fires. Some were by us and some were not at that time, because they didn't like what I was doing. Now, Mount Shasta was done, part 2, which was a shift that was supposed to happen a long time ago. I did the underwater volcanoes in Kilimanjaro and Congo and all of those in those areas recently. And I kept saying Hawaii, something's up with Hawaii. I don't want to lose all of Hawaii. And I had to be very diligent about what I was doing. And then we see these fires happening in Hawaii. It's almost like, can I get a precursor off of the work that I did? Yeah, you probably can. It also represents the gates that we have to go through. If you go on my website, you can actually see all of the workshops. I posted now 99% of them, so that you can see the gates, their DNA activations, their gates, and there's more than what's on my channel. So I've done so much work. It would actually take me a long time to talk about it all. Okay, so I only give you glimpses into all the work that I did. But the water has been brought up several times. I have Zeus there a lot. You know, it's always the gods of time. I always work with the gods of time. Why? Because we're changing time.
we're not blind, right? Let's see. And I was noticing too, when I looked, that there is, like, this is for my area, okay? And then there's other places, a lot of other places where unexpected flooding is going on, okay? And sometimes expected as well. But maybe one or two of these is normal, but all this isn't normal.
That's
And
the
then while I was
consensus.
at
It's like, okay, maybe having one or two of these things happen, but the fact that they're all happening at the same time, and that's what everybody is saying. They're all happening at the same time. This is not normal. It is biblical. It is part of the scripture. It is apocalyptic. That's why across the board, everybody's like, oh, apocalyptic, 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 right? It's not normal.
the beach.
And the thing is if you watch all my workshops, you're gonna see why. It's pretty cool. It's power. That's an amazing gift to have.
I waited till it got dark because a lot of you know that when I see a lot of the angel orbs, the bright balls of light that'll show up at the beach when I go down there sometimes. Well, I was down there, but bright white balls of light did not show up. Something else showed up. And what it was, and I've seen it 3 times. What it was is there were 3 balls of fire that were side by side, and it's similar to what's in this video. So that's why I'm playing this.
Oh my God. No.
It's similar to that, but it normally the lights that I see at the beach are they're bright white balls of light. I have never, and I've seen way in excess of over 100 of these white balls of light, in excess of 50 times. Okay, but night before last, what I seen was fireballs, 3 fireballs similar to this imagery, 3 fireballs side by side. They would show up and they would be there for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then they would just disappear. And then 5-10 minutes later, they appear again, and it's balls of fire. Literally, it don't look like just light. It looks like fire. And I mean, there's so many strange things going on. I mean, the whole East Coast shaking, and it's verified that it's going on. I mean, you're talking about at least 1,000 miles of land that is swaying backwards and forth. And what can sway things? Frequency. It's sound related. Somehow there is something going on, whether it is end times related, whether it is something else related. Have they figured out how to do this kind of thing? They meaning the ones that like to do evil things.
See, that's the thing, is that's everybody's go-to thought. Oh, it's them messing with us. They can't. If you watch the workshops that I did, I've cut them off from that ability. And we have said several times that everything happens from this point forward is divinely guided. It is part of God because it's been returned completely. And recently I went through the gates. I've talked about this, you guys. It's so important. Like this, it's so important. And please don't misunderstand me. And I only want to push love because it's what it's about. We should not be in fear. That's what they're going to try to push. They're going to keep information from you, and they're very aware. They are so aware. And why wouldn't they want to tell you? Because that's them telling who they are, you know? But if you watch them, like I cut off their ability. When I did the first one with the moon, I had said that they listen in, and the next time they try, their ears are going to bleed. That was back in 2021, I believe. That was the first moon one that I did. The undoing the false concept of the moon. And then like there's a lot of things like that. Okay. And then the most recent one, again, I undid something in the AI where they were listening in on your phones, and there's always something with satellites. So in one of them, I did it and I said a satellite's going to fall, and it really did fall over Oregon at that time. All of these are on my channel. But that's the thing, is if you actually watch my workshops and then you pay attention to what's happening now, it's like, oh, she said that was going to happen. I said the aliens were coming. I also said there's a alien ship in the Atlantic Ocean that eventually we may find, and they may not be alive anymore. I have talked about them walking amongst us at this time. Some are very well aware of who we are, and they're meant to be here, and so are we. There are ones that will be extracted, I suppose you could say, and that's part of the blood in the Nile, right? Because when I stood in the Nile and it turned blood red, I asked what that meant. And that is representative of the blood that I am shedding off of this planet, either through bloodshed, right, or through people's choice. So, you know, it's all there. It's all pretty awesome, actually. They're very big things, and it can cause fear. And that's not what we want. I don't want anybody being in fear. It's power. This is about power. It's about, how does God work? How does the earth really work? What have they been doing to us and against us? That way it never happens again. This is a part of my healing and my right to passage and my right to what you would call bear arms. How can I bear arms if I don't know what arms I'm bearing? 3993, when I said that. I don't know why that's relevant. Let's look that up. Maybe the arms I need to bear is the knowledge. 3993 is a sign from the divine that you are on the right path in your career and financial pursuits. It's a reminder that your hard work and dedication will pay off, and you will soon reap the rewards of your efforts. See? Some validation right there, right? Like, it's power. That's what I'm talking about. It's power. How do I bear arms if I don't know what arms I'm bearing? Right? How do I do what I need to do if I don't know what it is I need to do? Because I see a lot of these people and they have great intentions, and, you know, but it's fear. What else do we grab onto? Right? And they will tell you, don't do that, be in love, keep your vibration high. Yes, they say that, right? But they don't tell us anything, like the Hawaii fires. And I had said that these things are going to happen and they're not going to tell you. We aren't going to have warnings. I have said that over and over again. Number one, because we cut off the matrix from the divine light. Okay, we cut off that aspect of your false reality from the divine light, from what's really happening. But not only that, even if they are aware, which they are, of what's going on, that is the end, that it's biblical, why would they push that? Right? They will do snippets of, yeah, it's possible we could lose this by this time. It's possible, but they're downplaying these things. They're downplaying earthquakes, because number one, it can create mass panic. We get that. Number two, though, if they did it properly and gave everybody power, it would actually save lives, right? People need to just pay attention, know how to read the earth around you, because that's what some people do. That's what this guy's doing. He's reading the earth around him. He's paying attention to his surroundings. Just like he said, take a step back, slow down. Just like I said in my Facebook video last night, is make sure that you are paying attention to details at this time. Make sure that we are paying attention to the earth around you, because it speaks to you. It speaks to you through weird things, like in Thailand or Taiwan. That fish rising is an omen of earthquakes. Every time they see that fish or it rises from the deeps, there's usually a big earthquake that follows at some point. That's been throughout history. And that would make sense, wouldn't it? All these orcas and unrest, all of this water, all of these things are telling you things. The whole world is speaking to you. The whole world is speaking to you. And it's so cool to watch what I did and how it relates to what the world is saying. Man, let this be your power. Let this be your light. And are you able to hear what she is saying? Are you paying attention to the world around you? Can you slow down and truly pay attention to what is happening around you at this time? Because having that ability, and to not choose fear, and to choose to listen to the subtle nuances of God and the frequency of the one and the earth and of love, that's what will save you at this time. So much love to all of you. This is a beautiful day. It is a beautiful thing that is happening. I'll see you next time. Pay attention to the world around you. Hasta la vista.